Alrighty, hello every folks. Good evening. Welcome to one of these streamy kind of dailies here today. And yeah, we're gonna be doing some One Vision here today. So here's the deal. With the new patch having come out a few days ago at this point, I figured it was just sort of a fun time to sort of see what people are thinking about it, see how it's kind of coming along. Obviously, there's been quite a few interesting knock-on effects that came from this stream, or from this patch rather. Yeah, just a little bit of a thing to discuss. Now, originally I had done this as its own separate video and frustratingly did it like 3 separate times, and every single time that I did, it was the same exact problem. Like, oh yeah, this sounds half decent, and then suddenly go back to it and it's like, oh, actually this is terrible. I completely forgot the main thing that I was trying to address that time. Like one time I was specifically meaning to talk about how the like one of the berserkers kind of reworked abilities cause them to potentially counter their own later units in some ways. Or in another case, I meant to talk about how the accuracy formula was good for punching things in the back of the head with a power fist now. Yeah, in general, I just kind of wanted to see where people's opinions were in our little community here. Kind of see where it lies, so to speak. Because yeah, I think overall it's had a lot of really positive impacts on the way everything plays, on the way that everything flows. Like, the accuracy reworks in general feel like something that was kind of quietly needed, not to a really desperate extent, but it does feel very nice. So, one of the things that changed with the accuracy reworks, one of the more kind of important things that ended up changing, is that spells in general tend to be a bit more balanced across the board. There's less kind of direct counters. I guess direct obvious counters might be the way to put it. When it comes to the sort of counterplay, let's say, versus lightweight units, there's less of a immediate need to always rely on your guarantees at this point, which was always sort of just part of the game there. So the way that stuff shifted, Magic in general has always been, throughout all of the regular releases, it's always been more or less countered by a unit's evasion on top of everything else. So, like, Mind would, let's say, resist a debuff, but if somebody was already highly naturally evasive, then suddenly that, like, whatever that thing was just had no chance to hit them anyway, which kind of makes sense, obviously, but also it's one of those things that tended to lead to what I would kind of personally class as the XCOM problem. Namely, whenever, let's say, you have an evasion build, like, it's basically implied at some point you're going to be saying goodbye to that character due to a random crit or something. Their death will be spectacular, but they will be really useful until then, So the thing is, until that happens, like, you're just sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop, So either way, when it came to evasive characters, oftentimes they had the same thing. The AI had a ton of these kinds of potential units that may potentially be really good at evading basically everything. And yeah, you can use your guarantees, but let's say you're using your overheads as your guarantee. What happens if they bring a ward shield? Well, I guess you're gonna have to wait for your Terror Knight to show up. What happens when your Terror Knight shows up? Oh, well, I guess you're gonna hope that they don't roll their parry. What happens, let's say you're going for, ranged attack instead. Well, hopefully you remember, this time you remember to put on overpower. You gave them their overpowering gauntlets and stuff like that. And oh no, now in this particular case, they have enough defense alongside their evasion to block off your arrows, that kind of stuff. Like, it always felt like there was maybe just one more extra step there. So with some of the spell reworks giving lightweight units the ability to basically just kind of have their mind targeted rather than their body, it does lead to this kind of fun case where wizards have more options to potentially screw with stuff like rogues. And additionally, like, this bit right here is just nothing short of inspired. The fact that when it comes to your hit odds versus highly evasive units, dropping minimum odds to 20% while also raising the hit odds from the back to 60% has been a game changer. It means that lightweight units basically have to focus more on facing, whereas, let's say, a lot of your heavier type of stuff, obviously they're going to play basically the same that they did before. But this does mean that facing matters quite a bit more. That again, if there's a lightweight unit in your way, getting around them or using trajectory or something like that will be a lot more useful for you. So either way, love that in general. Now, that being said, that we got a question that came in. What's the difference between Tactics Ogre Reborn and One Vision? How much time do you have? Because we're going to be spending the next couple hours just discussing the most recent patch. as far as how big of a difference the actual thing is, it's basically its own entire thing. Like when it comes to One Vision and whatnot, it's more or less. It's kind of like if Reborn. Okay, let's put it this way. Reborn manages to kind of master the sort of like game flow and like voice acting and stuff like that. It manages to nail the stuff that the original devs like really wanted to focus in on. You know, the story, making sure people got the emotions and all of the cutscenes and everything. But it technically puts away some of the simulation aspects that they never quite got a chance to finish in the PSP version. What One Vision is a sort of realization of a remake going in the other direction, where they double down on all of those like extremely specific kind of simulation elements that the PSP version did, while still trying to improve the other stuff along the way. So like this is playing off of original hardware right now, but like the HD mod brings in a lot of the visual improvements that Reborn ended up doing, and including lots of icon work that's arguably better in that particular regard. And stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things that they had done. However, between the two of them, it's usually just kind of generally agreed upon that like One Vision is the one that you're usually going to be playing for the purpose of mechanics, and then Reborn's the one you play for the purpose of story. Alrighty, so let's see. Any use for Beacon right now, or can we just, we'll just go ahead and entomb this one here. Let's go ahead and auto still the Skelly, and he can go ahead and retreat here. So, like, for example, in terms of the stuff that's different about One Vision, what we've got right here is, like, with the Necromancer, instead of being like the Lich, but sort of wimpier, essentially what we have is that, he's going to go convince the Skeleton to join your team. He's going to use another one of his abilities to then go and still this guy. That same ability could then be used on a friendly unit to temporarily put them into a sort of a sleep state, which used to be the ninja's old Evanescence ability. So basically giving lots of thematic credence to the fact that this guy's, a necromancer. They've got full mastery of these like life and death type scenarios and whatnot. But every class is basically completely expanded, reworked. Every piece of equipment, every weapon item, every single drop, the steel mechanic is still there and expanded far more than any of the original releases. Has a lot of interesting storytelling behind it. Every single battle up to and including New Game Plus type stuff is fully reworked. Like, this is the result of 10 years of tweaking, basically. Let's see, thank you for answering that. Hold on, sorry, part of it is cut off because I have the mouse wrong here. Let's see, Tactics was my game, but playing Reborn currently for the first time. Yeah, Reborn's perfect for like a first playthrough, kind of getting used to the setting and whatever else. And then, like, if you really want to see it go absolutely insano mode with all of the potential kind of interesting elements and whatnot, that's when you've got One Vision here. So, like, in this particular case, like, let's say Gamp, right? In the case of Gamp, when you get him in Reborn, he's going to be somebody that's, he's a beast tamer. That's kind of about it. You'll notice in Reborn, he actually equips a arquebus when you recruit him. I think it's an arquebus, or was it a commander gun? No, it's a commander gun at this point. But, anyway, so the reason that he's actually equipping that gun when you recruit him in Reborn is as a reference to the SNES version when he would be recruited holding a shotgun. And that shotgun was one of like 3 guns you could get in that game. Long story as far as how Fusiliers worked in that one. But like in One Vision, he ends up coming as a headhunter, essentially a class that would be able to actually use these weapons that he's constantly given but never uses outside of his kind of story events or what have you. He's still retaining all of his old Beast Tamer abilities, but also due to the fact that he's kind of nuts, he gets one of the abilities that a Juggernaut has to get Battering Ram and Renewal on himself. if he ends up building up a little bit of adrenaline here. He's got an ability from ninjas because he's always got a bunch of ninjas on his team that allows him to have a double move. He's got a really weird specialization of different weapons. Like he's got a pistol in one hand and a hammer in the other in this particular case. And granted, every single class has so many options that you realistically can max out your party limit entirely and still barely cover most of the classes. So, like, even if you went for complete individuals on each and every single one of them. So, yeah, the amount of options in One Vision is absolutely staggering. Anyway, let's see. So, silly stuff. Do you know when a remake of Original Tactics or Original Tactics will happen? I printed out the whole game, every class, item, etc., put it in a folder, and played the game a lot as a kid. You played it as a board game? Fascinating. I would love to see how that works. But yeah, no, dude. Depends on which one of the ones you're talking about. For me, growing up, that was like Night of Lotus. I know every freaking tile of that game by heart. Oh, the website? Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. They're actually still around. I think they just changed domains at some point if you couldn't find them. But yeah, no, they're still around, still doing their thing. But it's fun that all of their stuff has lasted all this time. Also, by the way, sorry, Slippo, didn't mean to miss your comment there earlier, but have you tried Troubleshooter? It's like XCOM plus Tactics Ogre plus Hello Kitty. I have not. What's the deal with the Hello Kitty? Why is that there? But yeah, no, like it. So Coyote, if you've played the SNES version, a lot of the stuff from that version that never made it to either like PSP or Reborn is back in this one. So like while Reborn did revisit a lot of those ideas and did kind of take a step more in that direction after like the absolute just roller coaster that was the PSP version, then yeah, you'll notice a lot of things potentially familiar here. Again, kind of looking to blend new and old in a lot of different ways. Let's see, we got our ninja coming up here soon. I think we're gonna do. I'm gonna have him take a shot at this skelly boy over here because well, I want him to get buffed, so we're going to put down a trap tile. Going to go ahead and buff him here. Going to go ahead and have him take a shot at this guy. Put him back to sleep. Hopefully... sleep on mist. Oh well. It's fine. He gets his haste. That's what I was after here. But, like, let's say we got... we actually even have, let's say Lyndall coming in with a unique class at this point. Where he gets gun blades. Which, again, seems a little bit out of pocket, but he's the only one that can use them. So you've got Vice already? Yes, I did end up getting Vice between the different streams here. At this point, I'm just kind of finishing up, setting up the last few classes. So I've got all the generic stuff ready to go. I've got Vice that I still need to kind of get up to scratch and play around with a little bit more. I've got, what's his face, Rudlam's Enchanter class that still needs a little bit of work there. Songstress, which I basically know the general deal with Songstress at this point. But yeah, still kind of playing around with the last few of them. And by the way, Coyote, just for reference, just so you know, like this particular save file, we're like 500 plus hours in at this point, and this is just to try out every class. That's how many things are added in this. Alright. Let's see. It has some sort of anime style, but it's a very well polished game. It's a hidden gem. But yeah, I feel like I don't know if I've heard of it. I feel like I've heard of it, but I can't put my finger on it. Okay, let's see. Do we have enough? Actually, yeah, he does have Conserve MP. He should have enough for a rebuild here, because that skeleton over there has a good amount of points ready to go. Does he have the range for a rebuild, though? But like, yeah, like what I was talking about as far as every class being expanded. Like, we got Donalto over here, as a Necromancer, like, one of his abilities is just to basically, he gets Conserve MP, which used to be on the Valkyrie there, basically serving as a thing where every now and then he just basically gets to cast for free now. But like, let's say one of his abilities is just to completely rebuild a skeleton from scratch. So we're not going to be able to use that, but I guess we'll just go ahead and banish this one over here since they didn't feel like joining. So you could always use Ranger Denim for that. I mean, possibly. But also, after what happened with the last special classes, I did want to kind of get the assigned unit for it. And also I needed to get him to eventually do Coda stuff, so figured what the hell, why not. Let's see. Finisher-wise, he's got basically nothing going on, but we'll... you know what? Let's just move him out of the fight for now. Actually, yeah, just go ahead and heal Gamp a little bit. Let's see. Shocked at the similarities of story from Tactics Ogre and FF Tactics. Vice, the person being shot and dying. I don't think I can keep count, and I love it. Yeah, no, as far as the stories go, I mean, FFT basically shook out of Tactics Ogre, so it makes sense. From what I understand, they more or less were told, hey, look, we liked Tactics Ogre, can you make us one of those, but it's a Final Fantasy now. So they did. And as is often the case in those situations, like, yeah, as soon as you put a bigger brand on it, hey, suddenly that's the way more popular one. So yeah. No, don't block that. Well, anyway, Gamp just got his shit rocked, unfortunately. Momentum may keep him running, but I think we're probably okay enough at this point. I think we're probably made enough headway in this case. I just got tired of running Tynemouth Hill, so I started just playing around with all kinds of random stuff. There we go. Just pop you. Probably just attempt to put him to sleep at the very least. Just to try to disable him, because it looked like they have a couple turns coming up. Let's see, but Tactics Ogre was the original, that's so special. Yes. Yes, it is, but they also didn't really have the time to balance a lot of it. That's the only issue with the, like, original. It would be awesome to see it come back, don't get me wrong. Like, I still play through that one regularly. It would be... If they ever do a proper, like, full re-release of that one, please somebody take a look at the descriptions and just say what items do. Like, there's no indication about most of it. Not even most of. I think there's like one of the kind of hidden effects on items that's actually described in any way. The rest just sort of happen. Like, hey, this armor was made by fairies. Did you, like... Great, that absolutely tells me it's immune to like 3 specific debuffs. I love to know that. Thanks. Let's see, have you transferred him to Whips? Are we talking about, wait, are we talking Vice, or are we talking, Mr. Donnie over there for that? Because, yeah, no, I've just kept, Vice as his, kind of guardsman build. Like, in my mind, for whatever reason, Vice has to just, like, match his portrait, so we're gonna eventually end up going Phantom Cloak, Sword and Board on him. See, sometimes I feel like a game could have a multiplayer aspect to it somehow, like doing a dungeon with your friends. I mean, that's kind of the vibe we're going for here right now. Because, yeah, totally could. See, Vice can use it by transfer, so you could teleport Sneak Attack stack with Army... Wait, Sneak Attack... It's the same as Slayer? I never knew Sneak Attack actually stacks with finishers. I never even tried that. Holy crap. Well, we're going to have to give that a go after the team gets thoroughly wiped all of a sudden. Good to know. Good to know. I'm going to give that a shot in just a bit of a moment here, because I've got Sneak Attack over on... Is Lindell still alive? Yes, Lindell is still alive. So we'll go ahead and try that on him in just a bit of a second here. This actually might still be doable, because I can always go ahead and do this thingy where we sacrifice Mr. Drake over here for the purpose of getting back our Necromancer, for the purpose of doing other things here. Like, I guess technically it's one of those kind of stream request things that's come up a few times. Like, oh yeah, do a drinking stream. Like, technically, I was going and cleaning the house earlier. Found a bunch of these lemonade thingies that my wife said I should just go finish off. So, what the hell? Got a stack of them over here. They have, like, no alcohol content. Anyway, these do nothing but taste sweet, so that's cool. Let's see. Wait, fresh like button? What? What is fresh like button? Oh, like button, I see. But yeah, so we'll try out that whole sneak attack thing. Is it possible to drop poisoned gear or items that enemies could pick up and get poisoned from? I think we have traps for that. Here, let me see. Do I have any traps on you? No, my... Who had traps? Oh, right. Vice had traps. So we'll double check with him in just a moment. But yeah, no, you can do a lot of stuff with poison in this one. Like, currently, we are spamming mustard bombs over on Mr. Lindell here, since he's kind of the advanced grenade user, so to speak. If you've played XCOM before, think about Lindell as your sort of, heavy grenade launcher upgrade, where everybody else can just sort of chuck one of the grenade items over at somebody for a guaranteed stun, silence, or poison. In the case of Lindel, he can just go ahead and area splash that mess. So that's pretty darn nifty. Anyway, let's see if we can get this dude on our team. Probably not, but hey, it's at least worth a shot. Oh, well, how about that? Well, in that case, well, I don't have a rebuild in the tank, do I? Right. Well, in that case, tell you what, let's go ahead and move Mr. Gamp. Let's warp him over closer to Vice so that Vice can go ahead and possibly be ready to sack himself here for the purpose of making this fight doable. Never mind. He's going to go ahead and get annihilated, so that's fun too. Alright, would you ever build a Terranite without concentration? Are we talking about Reborn in this case? Because that sounds like Reborn. In which case, yes, there's certainly situations that you'd want to do that. But, currently, we do not have one of those right here. Alright. Let's go ahead and pop this guy. Poison should be able to finish him off. There we go. Then we got the Ghost coming up. Actually, you know what? We don't need anyone to sacrifice anyone for anything. You're going to go ahead and get Gamp up on his feet, and we got this. This is perfectly well doable, since this one looks like it came with Field Elk. So we'll get a full Gamp going, and Gamp is an absolute just meatball of a unit, so we're fine there. Do you recommend any mods for Reborn? The old fart mod is pretty fantastic. Just brings in the old fart line from the PS1 translation of the SNES game, and that is amazing. One of the few positive instances of AI doing something good. And, yeah, aside from that, just kind of depends. I personally found fun with the no experience mod. We're still completing that playthrough at some point. That's still on the pile here. From there, let's see. See, I know that one of the answers that would be expected was the, like card removal or changing level caps or whatever else, but honestly, I feel like that stuff is very, very tightly designed, and very well designed for, like, if you're playing that game properly, those mechanics will not hurt you in any way, and they will expand the experience. If you are playing poorly, that's all it does. It just gives you a crutch, and frankly, I feel like a lot of those crutches just kind of end up hurting if you end up trying to use them. But again, that's just personal opinion. I know for me that that the series got way more fun the moment I stopped trying to use any kind of crutch stuff to sort of limp through the game, so to speak. Let's see. Cannot guarantee it will work was a question. Just wanted to confirm. Oh, okay. Well, we'll give it a bit of a shot and see how it goes. Please parry, Mr. Ivan. Oh, wait, right. I gave him a parrying dagger and no melee weapon. That would do that. Let's see. Cool. Is it possible to turn an enemy into an undead unit and then use healing magic to defeat them? Not really, because somebody has to be on the ground in order to get undeaded. So you can only do that to your own units. Now, Aircell is a fresh unit. My original Furia died. None of this will make any sense to anyone that's potentially never played this before. But yeah, no, when it comes to One Vision here, one of the things that you'll notice is that pretty much almost every unique character has some sort of unique characteristic to them. Or unique class or something. So there's a lot of that in play. You know what? Here, just go for one of these. Maybe we'll get the multi-roll. If this multi-rolls, then we should be... Okay, good. Didn't get the poison, but, That's not great. If only you were technically classed as an Umbra right now. Alright, well, Aircell's gonna get taken out. I don't think Vice is doing anything here. So we should be fine there. Alright. Maybe a mod that changes accuracy and healing. I mean, the healing... Okay, I will say this. The healing mechanics are oftentimes misunderstood. Like, there's a lot more healing options than it looks like when it comes to the speed of different units, and I should have banished that guy. I thought that was my guy. Whoopsie. Might have potentially screwed this up a little bit. Okay. Let's do this. Go ahead and Sleep Bomb that guy. Sleep Bomb, get my Necromancer back. those. Completely whiff it. Way to go. Granted, his luck basically doesn't exist right now, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and get Donaldo up on his feet, get that skeleton taken care of, and hopefully stop messing this up really badly. Alright. Now, you, sir, can you actually land this shot currently? Yes, because I switched him out for a different crossbow. For some reason, I'm still thinking that he's got his old rail bow here. There we go. Go ahead and get this guy on our team, hopefully. Yes, please. Nope. Well, fine. Suppose it is what it is. Alright. Well, let's see if you can maybe finish off this guy. I was going to say, I kind of expected stun to roll there, so I kind of lost out on the experience that I was here for in the first place, but that's perfectly fine. Let's see, just wanted you to know that Armageddon Sneak Attack was just theory crafting. I have no idea. Okay. That's okay. That's all good. Again, it's all good. Just like, as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, I feel like I've tried it, but then again, maybe I didn't. So that sounds like it could be potentially very fun. So yeah, it sounded like there was some fun to be had there. All right. Now let's see. Yeah, Cerberus should still work on you. So then let's just go ahead and summon spam this guy. High roll, low roll. Yeah, we got the mid roll, and we're good. So, completely whiffed that, but hey, Earth Temple time, so we're just going to go do Earth Temple stuff. And there we go, got the Magma 3 that I was here for. Well, that and experience. This one wants to join the party. No. Get out of here. Terranite, no, you are greatly appreciated, but you are not going to be on the team today. Bro just poofed. Which poof are we talking about? Because, yeah, technically speaking, this isn't... So, okay, since there seems to be a lot of folks that are popping in here that are maybe unfamiliar with One Vision, general deal with this one is, again, it's like Tactics Ogre Reborn took the PSP version and said, you know what, there's a lot of cool stuff here, there's a lot of cool ideas that we tried to do and never quite finished. Let's take the stuff that we can finish, make it make more sense. So, like, take, for example, a lot of the auto abilities used to be abilities that had to be grinded up over the course of several hours that basically cost a lot of what is the TP bar on screen here. That's the one marked with the T at the bottom. So this basically meant you had to wait like 8 turns naturally, or just kind of get into several rounds of fighting to be able to afford to activate this ability once, which came in with a default odds of 30% chance to hit, and then just over the course of using this hundreds of times, you would get that up 5% at a time every time it ranked up. You would get like 1% experience every time it went up. Complete pain in the neck, ridiculously long grinds on some skills, which is came in especially harsh when some of them were only available starting in Chapter 4. So this meant that there were a lot of really cool ideas that never happened, that like technically existed in the game but never went anywhere. And so Reborn basically said, okay, let's take all the stuff that we had at the very end and bring it to the front and let everybody use them. Stuff like parry and deflect just being merged into parry, or things like everyone assumed you could parry with a warlock, and you basically just had to equip a knife in their offhand, and there you go, instant parry warlock. It just basically simplified a lot of things in a good way. And then, again, One Vision is basically still a modification of the PSP version that goes in the other direction, that says, what if we just like continued down the rabbit hole of just like expanding on all of the stuff that the PSP version tried but never finished, and then refined it over the course of a decade. So this again is, functionally speaking, almost an entirely different game. So yeah. So you made Saria Beast Tamer, that okay? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, honestly, the sisters are just good enough overall that you pretty much can do anything with them. Like, oftentimes whenever somebody says, hey, I made this character, they kind of suck at something, usually it's not like a mismatch between them and the class. Usually it's more a mismatch of how the class itself is being used. Things like, oh, you know, I have this Terranite and I only ever use them to go bum rush things. It's like, look at their speed. Look at their speed. They're better as a sort of defensive unit. They're better as a line holder. They're better as a harasser. Like, use them in conjunction with other stuff, but they're not like the tip of the spear. They're like the sharp edges on the side. Um, let's see. Anyone can be anything, though works better if you have transferred skill ranks that are relevant. Again, it depends on which version we're talking about. That may not be relevant if he's talking about Reborn. Can you refill their heart bars in one vision? Yes. You can get elixirs. I believe those elixirs are. I want to say. Gotta complete San Bronza and/or complete a full run of Farampa, possibly. I know it's one of the kind of later game dungeon rewards on one of them. They are pretty rare. Um, and yeah, I mean, as far as casualties goes, please also bear in mind when you see higher numbers, like I've lost 25 characters before or any of this other stuff. I personally play with a sort of Iron Man-ish rule set for the most part. Like, if a character dies, I just roll with it and just make another build to replace them because I enjoy recreating characters. So for me, they had their big dramatic death. They they ended up losing their life for the purpose of keeping the party going. So maybe something interesting will result. And for those unfamiliar with like PSP style mechanics, yeah, honest manner will say, yeah, that's what that would be. That would be it. So. Like, for example, the story that I usually use for this is Olivia in this particular playthrough, where I wasn't really entirely sure what to do with her. I didn't want to just leave her as a cleric, because that just felt a little dry. So what I did on this playthrough was I was just playing around with giving her different classes. I had used her as a sword master in Reborn, was kind of tossing around that idea, so I did give her a sword for a little bit, and then I had my team's archer that ended up losing her life, essentially trying to save Olivia from a skeleton, and then that archer lost her last life there, and then it was like, oh, you know what? That's pretty cool. We'll just go ahead and give her skills to the person that she saved. This is a cool little transfer moment. So, either way. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. All right. Let's see. Have you tried Felseal? So, Mr. Feng Wong. So yeah, Felseal is basically like Final Fantasy Tactics remade from the indie scene. If you really like the mechanics of FFT, but are fine with it having a story that's just kind of there to make stuff happen, like it's pretty tongue-in-cheek about it, and you can clearly tell there was a lot of love put into it because they'll like your entire team is for the most part generics. And it's really cool to see your generics showing up in cutscenes. Like, I had made my wife and I into characters in Felseal when I was going and showing her the game. And she's like, oh, why are you going and, like, making all these people? I'm like, look, they're right here eating soup. That's us. And then she called me a dork. Anyway, so moving on, though. Yeah. So, yeah, Felseal is pretty darn fantastic. Now, hang on, there was another one I missed earlier. They need to come out with another Tactics Ogre game and add a very intricate character creation system that allows the player to create the way the characters look right down to the last detail. Oh yeah, then Felseal will do that job for you. Then again, XCOM 2 as well. Though again, I'm personally more partial to XCOM Enemy Unknown. Not the least of which is because it's on a Vita, which is currently what we're playing on for, if anyone's curious. But anyways, so yeah, and One Vision, by the way, just so you know, technically, while we're making the argument, One Vision, like, keeps all the original Tactics Ogre story, but you can go in and customize a lot of the details of your characters. Like, obviously, every one of your people is very intricately put together as far as their equipment goes, but if you go to the site, you can actually put together specific cheats to make characters look like whatever you want. So, like, right now, here, let me go over to that menu to show you. Also, would help if I'm holding down the button. I'm just here pressing on the shell of this thing. So, for example, like, I have a version of Denim that's like, here, let's just go ahead and save and reload this real quick. And we'll have Denim with a beard. Because why not? Go ahead and load this up so that he has his beard proper. Technically, you can just make him change classes to do this as well. But yeah, check it out. Now Denim's got a freaking sick-ass beard. he looks like he's ready to go crab fishing with his bare hands. All right. Anyway, oh shoot, hold on, one quick second. I just missed something. Give me just a moment here. Alrighty, and back. Sorry about that. So, yeah, role-playing in RPG, you love to see it. Yeah, dude, I got a story with every character. I feel like some of these I've kind of been oversharing between these different episodes. Like I've told this Valkyrie story several times, like how one Dolan for Rampa led to her entire build. This one, so just so you know, in One Vision, whenever you're like if you want to, let's say, use unique classes on your generics, most common cheat lists at this point will include the ability to just transform anyone into any class if you would prefer, and in the default versions of the game this would cause it to crash. So there's generic versions that you can transform people into. So like I wanted to test out the priest slash Sybil class, and made a generic version of her, which is why she's the one with the book, because originally I had Denim try out that class, and yeah, let's just say he was pretty bad at it, so having an actual trained cleric doing that job worked out a lot better. Anyway, so let's see. Reborn question: what is the best healer that is not a traditional healer like priest or cleric? I'm trying to make Canopus part of my party as an off healer. Depends if you're looking for longevity or like instant usefulness. So, if, like, let's say you wanted somebody that was just a sort of instant, always available healer, just Beast Tamer. Like, just have them running around with a lobber and just chuck stuff around at people. If you wanted one that was a bit more for just kind of overall safety, just keep a knight with some healcraft powder on hand, and just give that guy a heal and stuff like that. Basically, just have them block other things from getting into position nearby. Spam heals as much as possible. Never attack anything, and they're usually fast enough. Valkyries are pretty solid for the same thing, just due to conserve MP. They can spam heal 3s a bit more often. So, I mean, arguably, Valkyries would be better in that position. You just can't make that argument about them, hiding with phalanx and stuff like that. Let's see. Swordmasters are okay, but that's more of just like a convenient trickle heal. The most hilarious healers are going to be the pumpkin heads, because you can just like shower things with pumpkins. Horrific as far as actual healing numbers are concerned, but honestly, you're there for the memes, so just do that. Let's see. As far as stuff that you can do with Canopus, though, I think his best option is going to be just a Rune Fencer. Like pop a heal 3, pop some conserve conserve MP, and then from there, let's see, probably just go lightweight. Probably skip the counter weapon and just like any lightweight equipment that you can give on the guy, and I guess a mind ring would technically improve him a little bit. Divine for another slight improvement. Just keep the healcraft powder. Honestly, it's the most important part of it. Let's see. Feel like I just struggled to install and update One Vision. Scared to see there's a new update. Oh, how do people struggle with this? Honest question. I don't... It's like you download the thing, you unzip the file, you put it in the other file, and you're done. Like, that's the whole process. Alright, so yeah, I'm not really sure how that's been an issue. So, okay, actually, let me share one story from last week. Maybe that might help in your situation. If you are using original hardware... Oh, let's see. So I had it already updating. It took me forever. Are you using the ISO method or the folder method? Because most people should be using the folder method. Basically, if you had the original game and you just basically moved it from, like, let's say the UMD disk to your computer, and you just have an ISO. When you use UMDgen, that's the program that opens it up to install the file, you just extract it into a folder, okay? It'll just make a folder, you name it whatever you want. Every time there's an update, move PSP_game into that folder, done. That's all you need. Tell PPSSPP to read that folder. It'll tell you, oh no, poor me, I can't read this thing. In fact, let me show you the little thingy it gives right now. But it's lying to you, so ignore its lying face, and yeah, so, here, is it popping up? Yeah, let me see. Alright, give me just one sec here. So it ends up popping up like this, right? And, Go over here. It does its whole thing. Extracted ISOs often don't work. Play the ISO file directly. Ignore that. Ignore that. You see how it says, like, emulation ROMs, fried chicken? I just called my folder fried chicken, and that's just where it goes. Whenever there's an update, just download it, drag and drop PSP game onto that folder, tell it to overwrite, and you're done. That is the entire process. Let's see, you had the ISO. Okay, with the ISO, it's only slightly different. You open up the folder, like you open up UMDgen, you drag and drop your ISO onto that. Okay, you go into PSP game, you get your other PSP game thing. You merge them together. You make them kiss. Okay? If it's your old ROM, it has all of the other stuff already handled. Honestly, for most people, I would just say skip the whole thing with the extra folders that are in there, the ones that are for the install fix. That is only there. That, like, all the data install fix stuff, it's only there in the extremely oddly specific case that you specifically went to the main menu and told it to install something, and then when it asked if you're sure, you told it to actually install something. Now, that feature has never been useful for anything in any version of this game. Presumably, it's back when it was, only on disk, and you wanted to make a copy of your disk because it was damaged or something, and yeah, it's not really useful. Like, maybe it would make it run a little bit faster on the PSP if you were running exclusively off the disc, so it wouldn't have to read it as often, so it wouldn't do that whole kind of sound. but yeah, no, it's easier just to delete that file in that particular case. But seeing as I guess enough people didn't want to deliberately go through their files to go find that one file, that's why the data install fix is there. So literally just drag and drop, save as uncompressed, keep move the ISO wherever it is that you're reading the ISO, and you're done. So if there's any struggles, again, feel free to reach out. It's not a difficult process. It's usually something fairly easy to fix. Anyway, so moving right along here. This time we'll just go ahead and bring somebody else along as well. In order to hopefully not run into those issues from last time. In fact, actually, wait a minute. This is like running very heavy on casters right now. I think we'll get the Swordmaster in here. Still lightweights, but it'll do. What does the new update offer? Okay, new update offers a whole lot of improvements to accuracy. So, for example, minimum hit odds from the front are down to 20%. New hit odds from the back are up to 60%. This basically changed the way that a lot of classes end up working. We got Priest availability over on Donalto, Headhunter availability on Vice and Zapan. Ended up getting reworks to a lot of the formulas as far as, just kind of accuracy in general. So there's like 5 different magic formulas or something like that. Basically just the sort of TLDR of all of the accuracy reworks for magic. You know how lightweights are constantly freakishly evasive, even against magic stuff? Basically what it does is that it makes it so that casters have the option to overwhelm their mind instead of their body. So this gives you more counterplay versus lightweights. Smart lightweights are still very effective as they used to be because, again, higher odds of dodging physical attacks from the front. But this also means that they're better at taking those initial engagements, but potentially are going to be having a harder time versus casters, so they don't just bully them all day. Let's see. There was a rework to some of the Berserker abilities, which allowed them to have a sort of instead of healing another person, it's more like you force another person to heal you, and then take a little bit of a rebate on it, kind of like a reverse Lancet ability. Let's see. I got the patch notes up here as well. There was a merger of a lot of buffs and debuffs. So, for example, instead of True Strike and True Flight, we just have Precision now. And so, for example, archers would be the ones carrying around something like Precision. Obviously, you would get that from items still as well. But warriors would be carrying around something like Vanguard, which is a combination of the old dodge and sidestep. So this basically was kind of like... Whoops. I'm just dropping things on my desk. But yeah, it kind of is an interesting sidestep merger that's... I don't know. It makes me think immediately of the parry deflect merger that we saw in Reborn, except it's for buffs and debuffs. We also got a new type of kind of magic dodging buff situation there as well. So again, just lots of new little kind of interesting side grades and such as far as all that stuff is concerned. There's also a new anti-undead gun that's basically a gold-plated anti-undead magnum called the Alexander that you get in San Bronza. Thing exercises on kill. So that's pretty darn nifty. What else do we have here? There was a elemental augment added to the Vristra if you wanted your guaranteed slingshot to have fireballs now. Let's see, a million and one different combinations here. Oh yeah, Golem's got a pretty nice buff because the Anima Core increases ranged accuracy as well, so suddenly you can hit stuff with your Golems instead of hit hard but never hit, or get hit and never actually hit. So that's been improved. There was some fun references to March of the Black Queen that got added as well. So like the Sun card gives you Emblaze, so that's actually, it's funny, one of the things that I was saying for a while was still kind of unique to Reborn at this point. Was that you would be able to use your first turn dodge, first turn dash. So, like for example, during the speed run, there was a dashing cockatrice that was used to claim the stairs in Hanging Gardens on the first turn to help make that kind of charge through possible. But Sun card now gives you Emblaze, which is basically Lava Walk plus dash. Moon card gives you Ward, which allows you to avoid spells. You know, again, March of the Black Queen type stuff. Star card gives you Escalade for going and climbing up onto buildings. So suddenly a lot more kind of movement options without necessarily stepping on the toes of other stuff, which is always cool to see. Like specifically, I love that option to add Escalade, because the whole purpose of having those movement buffs on cards before was so that you would be able to let's say get somebody out of a position that they got knocked into. So like let's say somebody got knocked off of a cliff and they had no way to walk back up or fly back up or whatever else, you would use the old flight cards to put them back into position. But if you give them an Escalade card, that allows them to get back safely without being overpowered. So good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Anyway, let's see. What do we want to do on you? Your odds suck. Your odds are not so suck. So let's do that. 36 is not awful, and we got 15% earlier, so it was at least worth a try. Alright, who do we want to entomb here? So yeah, for those that haven't tried entomb before, that's pretty awesome. So, like, here, let's see. It's like, we could still this one, we could still that one. In fact, actually, I think that's what we're going to go for here. Here, let's see. And maybe we'll entomb this guy first, because he's actually got a turn coming up. So insta-still an undead here, or potentially temporarily nap time one of your allies to give them a full heal, which allows them to kind of get back into position relatively quickly. Alright, let's go ahead and pop this one in the back of the head, and have you go ahead and dodge around this corner real quick. She's got Holy Water, she's got Field Alk, so we'll be able to have her deal with that zombie in just a bit of a second here. See, I'll be honest, most of that went over my head, but I didn't understand Denalto getting a unique class. Basically, they changed priest access to where, let's say, if you have somebody that is a proper trained priest, like Denalta or Cashua or Aurelius, they all have access to priest at this point. You know, that is in their background. It is something that they should be able to promote into, but it's not a standard promotion. So it's like a lot of the kind of unique classes ended up getting spread around a little bit. And one of the things that I was actually originally complaining about in one of the videos that I ended up scrapping before just deciding to do this as a stream, is that we actually will potentially be seeing another unique class for Yunin, because I was wondering like why it was that Volker got access to Death Knight, which it's basically there because well, I mean, he's on Chaos. You can only get access to Death Knight on Chaos, and you don't get access to one of two people that could currently use Death Knight, namely Denim and Divold, if you have to kill Divold to get the class. So it was given to Fulkert, and basically one of the sort of mindsets over the course of that whole thing was just like, well, why Folkert when Yunin is potentially going to have a far better background for, you know, half knight, half necromancer. And obviously in that particular case, it's kind of going completely contrary to his whole plot thing. There was this whole discussion the other day on how to possibly make Yunin a unique pacifist class, so I'm really curious to see how that's going to turn out. I know for like roleplay reasons and stuff like that, I always tend to turn Yunin into a pacifist, so apparently it wasn't the only one, but there was like a whole discussion going on that, so we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Saying all seriousness, you just get necromancer marks easier. Wait. What are we talking about there? Let's see, also try not to make avalanche, slows me down to negative FPS the other day. And I'm making... Oh, you're having emulation issues. Okay, sorry. I was a little bit confused. What on earth? I was reading there for a sec. Alright, we can go over those in just a little bit of a second here, actually. That might be a little bit of an interesting discussion. So we'll pull up the emulator, we'll talk about the way that a few things potentially behave to help out those folks that were maybe having some issues. And while we're doing that, let me go sort out my nose real quick, because that is getting real annoying, so just one sec. Alrighty, and back. Alright, let's see, like Folkert's armor color? Yep, true. It's snazzy. Let's see, thought Seth was talking about Necromancer Donalto, not Priest Donalto. Oh yeah, no, I only have him as a Necromancer because I just thought it was kind of a funny moment of, you know, Donalto being all high and mighty the first time that he goes and talks to Nybeth, and you get those first Necromancer marks by robbing Nybeth. So I just figured he's like, oh man, this guy's super evil, super evil. But you know... But what about me? What if I was super evil? Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about emulator settings here real quick. So, Tactics Ogre is a bit weird, in that a lot of things just sort of behave funny. So I don't know if you were the person I was talking to the other day as far as potentially having issues on this, but there's a few settings in general, kind of all over the place, that potentially don't work like you would expect them to. Basically, any settings whatsoever on here that have any kind of auto option, just pick one. Like, especially if you're having issues with stuff like Avalanche there, that's probably the one that's doing it for you. Anything that potentially has an auto option, like I think it was texture filtering for that particular one, because again, this is going to be kind of vague because stuff will be a bit different. But the way that the game is put together, as I understand it, because it uses a lot of different tricks to be visually possible in the first place, a lot of things like, again, the ice animation, if it's doing something automatic, like it could be doing two different techniques to use that ice effect to begin with. So as the emulator's looking at it, it's like, oh, I can be more optimal, looking slightly better for this, and then half a second later, oh, maybe if it's something like this, you know, a second later, maybe maybe I have to be optimal for this, and it's just shifting back and forth over and over. That seems to be where the chug comes from. So that might do it for you. This worked for somebody the other day as far as fixing that issue. For another thing, speed hacks, turn these off. Like, these are a no. And then the last thing to mention is when it comes to the purple box, there's nothing that can be done about the purple box. The purple box is your friend now, and it's just a thing now. So here, let me show you what that looks like. See on the bottom right there? Yeah, that box is just permanently there. Sorry. But yeah, that's just going to be an emulator quirk. Not really clear what's up with that. As you've seen, it does not happen on original hardware. So anyway, that's not the only reason I play on original hardware. I just love my Vita, but just kind of throwing that out there in case it happens to be your issue. All right. So let's go ahead and see about dropping this one to the ground. We got 84%. Out of curiosity, which formula does this one use? Yeah, no, it'll still be 84%. It's either this or a banish. Okay, good. So that worked out decently. Necro up there, and this is the only reason I was risking this in the first place. Mr. Necro up here needs to get frickin' God. Hopefully this puts him to sleep. It does not. In that case, roll a steel stance, and he should be relatively decent. Hopefully should be there until help can arrive. But we'll see. Alright. Sith Nation, he's named after the one jobber in Fire Emblem. Oh. Fair enough. Yeah, no, if we're talking about that character from earlier, no, he's named after the other jobber in Unicorn Overlord. That was the Unicorn run, which honestly we should get to finishing that at some point. But yeah, no, today we're just kind of discussing the patch a little bit. Let's go ahead and activate Trajectory here. Do a little bit of conduit action on this ghost. Get a little bit of that MP stolen as we do. And see if we can start working towards a Storm's End with her. There we go, zap away some of that MP. Apparently that one isn't using it. I guess is it like a rogue ghost or something? I didn't even check. Yeah, go figure. Dang ghosts with throwing javelins! Alright. I just need to do trial and error, but it seems to be most 3D I'll try what we mentioned. Yeah, that should do it. It's just because it switches between different techniques, and it causes the game to freak out. So that might solve it for you. I hope it does, and we'll go from there. Also, we're just going to go ahead and use traps over here to go ahead and turn this dude invincible. Got 63 of these strength traps for this reason. One booby trap over there, one... Let's see, do we... I won't be able to support Donalto. Oh well. I guess you'll be fine as you are. I should get some Field Alk or something on him. I think Ranger gets Field Alk. I forgot to check. Oh well. Oh well, that is just fine. But we do need to get this party consolidated a little bit, so go ahead and gun this ghost, please. Fine. Fine. Alright, whatever. Be like that, I suppose. Like, he can take the hit, it's just not ideal for us right now. You should be able to have a clean shot on this guy, though. Go to finishers, shoot, and yes. Let's go and take our shot on Mr. Robin here. And that's the cool thing about Gunblades. It's basically a two-handed sword that you can just kind of like randomly switch into a gun. So it's actually surprisingly useful. Get some debuffs taken away from you, just in case they want to cast them again, and that should be good. Alright. I've never finished Law and Chaos, probably have over 400 hours in playing Tactics Ogre, always get stuck in the endgame. Which version? So you gotta go. Alright, well, you have a good day there, Drew. Well, evening. I mean, I guess also I'm kind of assuming on that one, because what if it isn't evening? Maybe it is day where you are. I'm not sure. I'm going to assume it's some kind of day-esque type situation. So hopefully it is at least somewhat day-like where you are. Anyways, have yourself a good one. Let's see. Always go Lord, Denim, and Neutral. All of them. I'm adding all my hours from PSP, Reborn, and One Vision. Okay. So, I mean, people get stuck in the endgame for all kinds of different reasons in the different versions. That's why I was asking. So, like, for example, let's say you're going and playing Reborn. Oftentimes, what folks will get stuck on is, oh no, there is level cap. I can't get past level cap. And, you know, that's when they would potentially write an angry review on Steam and then just leave and then just, like, not even try it. That has happened on more than one occasion. It's weird, but hey, whatever, it happens. Now, I'm going to assume that's not the case. If you're on SNES, you're going to be in a situation where you've decided to go into Palace of the Dead, found out that you could get a bunch of really OP stuff there, and then realized that you were kind of in this position where like kind of lacking any motivation to continue on past that point because you've already gotten all the cool stuff, and Hanging Gardens poses no challenge. At which point you might just kind of abandon the playthrough and assume that they let everybody in the Hanging Gardens starve, which is honestly just kind of a fine outcome. Um, it is funny that in SNES it's one of those ones that you can get very uniquely demotivated by the fact that you know nothing in there can hurt you. But then if you're playing the PSP version, you might get stuck just attempting to min-max forever, which, again, will happen every now and then. It's perfectly a normal reaction, and there's no need to consult your doctor. It's perfectly fine. Let's see, aside from that, if you are playing Reborn, oftentimes folks will go into Palace of the Dead, end up just kind of potentially putting triple their original playtime's worth of hours into said Palace of the Dead, at which point they will forget why they went into Palace of the Dead in the first place, assume that they finished the game, and then potentially walk away from it. So, if any or all of these situations apply, maybe the main advice would just be to click on the Hanging Gardens icon. Because you're usually fine to go ahead with it one way or another. Alright, let's see. Best weapon for Beast Tamer or recommendations for Reborn? Personally, I think my favorite one's always been Hammer and Shortbow. Or rather, Elemental Shortbow. It keeps the counter effect. If you keep both weapon effects on there, gives them a really good amount of coverage between the different weapons there. Now, Axe and Bow definitely gives them a bit more coverage, but Hammer and Bow gives them AoEs, and if you want to kind of sacrifice one or the other, just sticking with Hammers is just fine, because Hammer, if you go, like, let's say Hammer, Lobber, Repel either Beast or Dragon, whatever there happens to be there, and then the Recruit skill for whatever, Beast or Dragon happens to be there, that tends to be a unit that not only hard counters some of the heavier hitters in the post-game, but is also something that potentially can be a very good offensive sweeper with shot grenades. Maybe keep one heal on there to have them serve as a healer for a little bit. Like, opening volleys with Beast Tamers with shot grenades are insanely good. And then from there, they just basically have just managed to charge up an AoE fire finisher on their hammer, and then they just basically get their shots for free at that point. So two-handed hammer. Kind of go in there with 3 shots and 1 healing item, Lobber, Repel, and the relevant Recruit skill, and you're good to go. Alright. Let's see. It's the POTD grind. It definitely gets a lot of people. A lot of folks get stuck there. One of the best monster classes to run in endgame and Reborn. I have a huge army, but most of them are generics. What's wrong with generics? There's nothing wrong with generics, there's nothing wrong with named characters. They're all as good as how you can use it. Wait, what the hell is this? Sorry, weird, random Facebook suggestions. Man, when you don't use it, it does not know what to recommend to you. Any darn ways. Where the hell were we? I was trying to sleep on this guy over here. Let's see. Have a love-hate relationship with Reborn. Feels too easy or niche. Stack 4 attack cards and roll over bosses, so I went back to One Vision last time I played it. See, it depends. Like, it depends on the builds you run. It's got some interesting challenge runs to it. It's got a lot of just kind of... It's got a very fun flow. That's what I really love about Reborn. Like, they really, really nailed the game flow. And it's kind of the same thing as with Unicorn Overlord. Like, yes, there are certain cases to be made as far as its difficulty being a bit on the easier side, but again, that headspace of just going in, adjusting something, going in, adjusting something, going in, adjusting something, it feels very, very fun for repeat playthroughs. Like, it managed to not have that moment, if you're familiar with what that's like. Like, one of those things that the PSP version did that they managed to address in Reborn there is, like, those moments when, like, walking into a boss that you just haven't prepared for this thing, and it's going to steamroll you no matter what. Like, one of those nice, cozy headspace things in Reborn is just... Like, even if you completely skipped any and all grinding whatsoever, you know you're going to be fine going into the next fight. If you just keep that trust in mind, going into the next thing, you will be just fine. Like, you will be absolutely be able to handle whatever it is through enough creativity. That was the point of a whole lot of videos that I did the first time that I was kind of making videos on, well, Reborn in general. It's just like that game flow, that the way that it's paced out, the way that it has that sort of minimum guarantee that you definitely do have the tools to make it by. I really love that. So I definitely can't criticize it there. Like, it doesn't have to be, kicking you in the balls difficult at every opportunity. And frankly, honestly, I don't feel like the difficulty is necessarily that much different from One Vision once you know what you're doing. And it's the same thing in both cases. Like, once you figure out the mechanics, it's a pretty cozy experience. Like, right now, the main reason I'm losing people is because this is a team of all lightweights. I don't have a lot of the heavier hitters on the team, specifically because I'm trying to feed experience to Vice. so, so either way, once you know what you're doing, it's perfectly fine. It does seem difficult if you don't know what you're doing. Like, a lot of folks will go into One Vision will go into Reborn and just like, oh my god, this is the hardest thing ever. Like, leave an angry rant on, on Steam or whatever. Like, oh, the game's so unfairly difficult. Oh my god, this level cap is just the most unfair thing ever, and like not realize that counterplay is the entire game. It's like, just just use the most basic mechanics. Come on, you can do it. We believe in you. Almost, like you can do it. You can manage to figure this out. But people will be stubborn sometimes. All right. Let's see, it was around the time One Vision first came out. What do you mean around the time One Vision first came out? Do you mean when it got its like 1.0 release? Because this thing has been out for like a decade. I mean, you have to realize One Vision has been out so long, Reborn has references to it. Like, it's been that ingrained for that long. So like, I've heard from folks that had worked with the Reborn team. Like, we've like we know what it is. We've played it. We liked it. So it's not like they're unlinked, All right. Let's see, which is why it had the issue updating. Will be really good with modding. I mean, if you had a version from back when it first came out, man, it's gonna be quite the jarring change. All right. Let's see. Realized I had nobody using hammers. Thank you for the advice. Glad to help. Glad to help. Let's see. Oh, and they removed rogues in Reborn for some odd reason. Last time played was One Vision was like 2014. Yeah, dude, this is like a completely different game by this point. So I remember, because I was in college and I'm 30 now. All right. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, no, it's changed tons since then. Like, absolutely tons. Alright, let's see here. What is the easiest way to handle this situation? Like, this one has to go. He can barely have enough to cover that one. Now, Vice won't be able to hop back up on his feet. He might have yeah, he's got a small chance to recruit this guy. If he gets him, that's going to be ultra easy. Oh, well, shoot. Fine, I guess that's just kind of that then. You have items. Wait, do you have items? Yeah, shoot, I don't have proper items on him. Okay. Well, in that case, Mustard Bomb it is. To try and get this guy down even further. Actually, wait a minute. He's... actually, no. Let's chest roll that mess. Because he should just be able to shoot. Yeah, he can shoot if he goes down here. You can't get a good firing angle from up there, so instead, we go over here, pop this dude over here, have Aircell take a few shots from over on the other side, and that should hopefully get this guy down on the ground. Yep. Why did I not activate trajectory there? I don't know, but there's the win. Anyway, so I'm on my latest neutral route attempt, about to fight Vice and recruit Aircell. Well, if you're about to do that, then you... Actually, wait a minute. Ah, okay, you're in that part. Gotcha. I was gonna... For some reason, I was thinking law, but yeah, no. That makes sense, that makes sense. Also, I don't know if it was showing the mouse on screen this whole time, but sorry if it was. Alright, now, this is proving to be a very slow way to do this. One of the main reasons that it actually came down there in that particular direction was to get a hold of some rocks. And now that we have some rocks, I can go ahead and teach this guy to shoot said rocks. So, there we go. One of those for you. Did you have any new spell access this time? No, you did not. Alright. No, don't load. Don't load. Bad load. Do not load. That portrait change from earlier almost made me reload the thing. Alright. Also, I should probably point out to the person that was asking, if and when they happen to still be here, if you are wondering whether you can change people's outfits as well, yes. So, like, let's have... Okay, they're just the first ones on here, but let's have Dark Olivia, let's have slightly edgier Saria. And so in this particular case, let's go ahead and save and reload. There we are. Alright. And take a quick peek here, and now, for example, Olivia would end up having a bit of a different look to her. Saria down here would have changed a few of her accessory colors. I mean, this is still limited to the stuff that the in-game palette can handle, but, like, it's, you know, it's just kind of neat that you can do that kind of stuff. Any darn ways. Oh, by the way, as far as why Rogue was removed in Reborn, it's because it took like a year for Rakes to finish going and like balancing all of the drop table, or not even balancing, but just like finding most of the drops on the drop table or on the steel table for the Rogue. You have to realize that the Rogue in general, it's shocking that this was ever even in the PSP version, because it's a bit of a kind of a pointless addition. So, okay, a little bit of backstory here for those that weren't around since the PSP days. The Rogue in PSP, it was basically like a side grade of the Archer, okay? The Archer was extremely overpowered, and they had this interesting thing where, originally in the Japanese version, the intended route seemed to be that you get an Archer, you then later promote into a ninja, because the ninjas got access to longbows in the original Japanese release. The Rogue was kind of their counterpart, being the heavy crossbow speedster, essentially being somebody that would kind of just like run around sniping stuff with a crossbow. Your ninjas would be running around with their longbows, and yeah, weird times. Anyway, North American release comes around. They have only archers getting longbows this time around, and rogues, as a bit of a sort of extra feature, had been given their steel ability, but they never really quite finished doing much with the steel ability, so most of it is just like random pocket lint and crafting materials. There's exactly 2 cases where the steel skill can be used for anything of note whatsoever. One of which is a random blue guy that spawns in the Farumpa Wildwood that can give you a unique ring, and that's the only thing truly unique to the steel skill. You didn't steal equipment any... aside from those 2 instances, you couldn't like steal somebody's equipment off them. It was always like mend leaves and bronze bars and crystallos ore and stuff like that, or, you know, money or a blessing gem, something like that. Usually we're just stealing random consumables. It took hundreds of uses to be able to get to the point of even getting these unique items, by the way, since you needed, I believe it was rank 4 in steel to even get access to that drop table. Now, those annoyances aside, you could also steal from Roderick to get some Ogre equipment. So, okay, cool. So we've got like 2 uses for this skill. So, a bit of a weird thing, because this is... You have to realize, for this very, 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 very minor effect, this affects the entire several hundred hours of this game. Because every single character, every single spawn, every single unit on every single map, regardless of what can possibly pop up there, because again, remember, maps randomize their units and stuff like that to some degree, that like they have a certain list, and that list is like double what usually spawns there, and it just picks from that list. Every single one of those has a unique drop table that's usually filled with random useless garbage. And this entry that is thousands of different things long, like, basically your choice is, like you're going and putting this into the new version, right? Now, do you leave it as is and no one's ever going to use it because it's completely useless? I like if you brought it in as is, you followed Reborn logic. First of all, they redid all of the drops and other stuff, so presumably those tables were already not addressed to the right thing already. So they would have to individually go and fix every single unit in the game, right? Then presumably go through and readjust every single one of those lists for a skill that already would, like, nobody would use otherwise. Like, if you left it as is, it's just like, great, this thing will give you basically nothing worth of anything ever, because it's like mend leaves. You've got those aplenty. They're basically free. Crafting materials. You auto buy them from the shop now. Like, that whole step is already bypassed. You use these guys to bypass crafting in the PSP version, so you're not doing that anymore. The stuff like the Reaver ring doesn't even have a purpose anymore. Because as far as stop proof being being a skill that's equipable, it's no longer a thing that's equipable, so it's not there anymore. Now, sure, I would have preferred to see some immunity items getting thrown around a bit more often, but still. So yeah. So you never use these for money or equipment or whatever else. Recruit skills are used to steal equipment, and you can still do that just fine. So yeah, it was just this weird case of this rogue. Oh yeah, and also the trap mechanic, which also didn't function in the PSP version. It just didn't really do anything. It's like you do 10 damage with a trap that you had to go out of your way to try to get somebody to step on. The thing does either basically no damage, or it does a normal, just like random debuff. You could have just used the card to inflict on the person, so why are you doing it? And most of the time, because it could only be used from one tile away, it would hit you instead. So, again, like, basically everything outside of run around and shoot thing with crossbow about the rogue was a bit of a random afterthought, right? So, like, One Vision went in and thoroughly redid all of these. It took a extremely long time. Again, if I remember correctly, it was like around a year worth of constant work to actually get the tables for the rogue redone. So yeah, like it's not a short list. It more or less, I'm pretty sure at some point somebody sat down in some boardroom somewhere and they're like, look, we can have a remake, or we can just spend the entire budget on getting the rogue to work. And they're like, okay, fine, just take the rogue out back and old Yeller the guy, and we're gonna add voice acting. Like, it is what it is. What are you doing with that iron ingot in your pocket? Oh, stuff. Right? Like, it was the weirdest thing, and that's actually one of those things that I love about One Vision here, that when he was going through and redoing all of this stuff as far as the rogue is concerned, the stuff that you steal is kind of lore appropriate for the character, right? So here, we'll go ahead and save it, or no, save. Don't do that. There we go. Don't go to the load icon. We'll save it real quick, and it's like you go to rob the Dark Knights, and they've got ceremonial, like, uniform versions of their equipment. Like ceremonial armors and swords and stuff like that you can just go and sell. You rob wizards, and they've got golden snitches. You fight berserkers, they've got the eye of the tiger. And it's not just like class specific. A lot of times it's more lore appropriate. Hell, in a lot of cases there's stuff just like people carrying local drugs and stuff. And you might be saying, wait a minute, don't put modern paraphernalia in my medieval game. To this day, the national plant of Lithuania is apparently marijuana. So no, this is like one of those strange things that I was hearing from relatives growing up, is just like folk tales from Lithuania there of people going and of their dad coming home and or not folk tales, but like basically like Lithuanian nursery rhymes. They're just like, oh no, dad's coming back and picked some plants on the way home to go put into his pipe and stuff like that. So yeah, golden nuggets that you're stealing from people, meteorites that you're stealing off of golems and such, war bonds that you're getting from kind of higher tier people, golden snitches from wizards, ceremonial mail from any kind of more fancy people, focus crystals from people that do rituals. I wonder if this is meant to be a Golden Sun reference, because this looks so much like the focus crystals from Golden Sun. Eau de Cologne from nobility. You can just steal their fancy cologne. The Eye of the Tiger, ancient artifacts and stuff like that. Again, it's just fun. The kinds of there's a ton of these, by the way. So yeah, there's that kind of stuff. You can steal more useful items, seeing as items in one vision scale. So like instead of the Mendeleev falling off, or the PSP version, which was just like 20 different healing items that do slightly different amounts of healing, instead it's like, oh, the Mendeleev is 50 plus a percentage of your health. I think it's like 10 or 15% at this point. Mend seeds are 100 plus a scaling amount of health. Mending salves are 150 plus a scaling amount of health. With magic leaves, instead of having 50 bajillion magic leaves or just taking them out, it's kind of like an interesting halfway point where you still can buy basic magic leaves, but like let's say a book user is able to read their book to meditate on turn 1, which will give them easily double the value of Magic Leaf. These Magic Leaves will scale based off of your health bar. So potentially, do you build up your, or not your health bar, but your MP bar? So like, do you build your MP bar up for the purpose of getting more out of your basic leaves? Do you just go and equip a book to be able to immediately read and meditate on it? Do you potentially carry some other way to charge yourself up? Do you maybe have somebody else, let's say, use a charge ability off of a Dark Caster to go provide both MP and TP to that unit, etc.? Like, One Vision's all about its build, about different ways to accomplish things. Like, there's always a million ways to accomplish something. In many ways, it kind of achieves that sort of immersive sim mentality in an SRPG. Which got somebody very hostile the last time I said that, but again, I'm saying mentality. I'm not saying that it's turned into an immersive sim, but it basically is an immersive sim on a chessboard. Anyway. Okay, I missed a ton of comments. Sorry about that. Alright, let's see. What do we miss here? Let's see, what skills would you use as a main party member in Reborn for an octopus? Well, let's see. It depends on how it was used. If this is like a basic out of the shop, well, I guess off the shelf octopus, it would end up being their Aqua Bubble, Aqua Veil, Dash, and then Mucus. Mucus, just for messing with other units. Dash, for obvious reasons, if it gives them a lot of mobility. Aqua Veil for activating their water bubble, and then the water bubble for breach, and then just like long range breach, pair them with an archer. If you've got mind charms laying around, swap that out for poison rain, because with a little bit of investment into mind, poison rain is absolutely insane. Let's see, Thief Sprite Sarah is best Sarah. Let's see which. Yeah, currently our Sarah. Actually, no, my Sarah in this playthrough is dead. Because, yeah, that actually, her skills ended up transferring over to Fina over here. Let's see, I turn my nose up at the Swordmaster sprite. I don't know, I like Silver Sarah. Silver Sarah's always been my favorite. Alright, let's see, in Reborn, I was beating POTD even with the last level cap. Issue is, I was getting annoyed with not getting drops, farming for weapons and stuff, then left and started doing temples. And see, that's why I why I prefer playing the, quote-unquote honest man method. You just take what you can get and build accordingly. You just it tends to lead to a situation where you can build up more potentially interesting stuff based off whatever random stuff you ended up getting along the way. And again, it's certainly not as bad as it was in PSP, where, again, you can just do the entirety of Palace of the Dead and then just wind up with a pair of shoes, and it's like, well, I can't do anything with this, and the game's just kind of sitting there like, yeah, well, tough shit. You get nothing, bye. Would you like to go experience our post-game, where you have like a 2% chance to go get the Ambition? And basically nothing else. Or get a chance to get a spear that can be upgraded into a downgraded version. After you complete the final version of the final most difficult fight. Totally need a mid-game spear after this point. Cool pacing. Let's see. To unlock shamans for the sisters, all well and good. A lot of people like shamans. I will always prefer Valks to shamans, but anyways. Let's see. Reborn, infinite money, bogan, strat, made the game super easy. Well, I mean, yeah, if you're gonna cheese the game's unofficial easy mode, that'll do it. But let's see, I feel like the only real way to bring stealing to Reborn with minimal workload is to let them steal and redistribute those card things. I mean, it would have been interesting, but again, the mechanic itself was just basically like pull thing from table, not necessarily take stuff away from other unit. So there probably just wasn't a link there to do. Because like a lot of the stuff that they did was more or less reworking the things that were already there, kind of similar to the way that One Vision does it. Like, let's say in both cases, both of them ended up removing the absurd amount of passives that were available over in the PSP version, because those passives, to be completely blunt, sucked ass. They sucked all of the fun out of the game. It just became how many passives can you stack, and that was it. That's really dull. It led to this kind of breaking moment, just like partway through the PSP version, where it was just passives and nothing else. That the original stuff stopped mattering. And hell, I've done playthroughs. I even did a video a while ago of a playthrough with using no skills in that game, and it could not touch the post game, even with characters that had been through the entire game. They could do nothing. They couldn't even scratch things in the post game. Anyway, so both of them ended up reworking them in interesting ways, though, because, for example, in like the way that the cards work, the way that I personally appreciate that they work in Reborn, is that it causes a more active approach. It's kind of the Bloodborne mentality applied to an SRPG there, where they just kind of had their moment where they wanted people to move around more. But there is more tech to getting those cards than it really says, and I kind of wish that they mentioned more about this. But like, breaking props gives you cards, which means that, for example, if you have anybody with, let's say, a throwing rock, they can go and open up any nearby crates in order to sort of set up who gets what earlier on. You can usually wind up like 5 or 6 cards ready to go within your first round, and then from there just kind of figure it out. Once you get access to fire shots in Chapter 2, you can absolutely just chuck those on the ground and burn a bunch of grass tiles to go get even more cards. If you have a knight put down a phalanx, you can break that as your own personally created breakable prop that can just spawn a card. If you, let's say, use a staff to charge a knight to then break that prop to go generate whatever cards you'd like, you can absolutely do that. But again, this kind of breakable prop mechanic was pretty fun as far as those cards go. Sitting and waiting for something to spawn, that's just kind of a slow way to do it. But it also meant that you could start off bosses with an advantage that wasn't just stats related. You could cause them to lose their advantage. That was a lot of fun in my book. But either way, so they reworked the passives through those cards, where they got rid of stuff like Fortify, which just got rid of your fun. They got rid of stuff like stacking Spell Strike for just giving a guaranteed form of hitting through the regular Spell Strike thing. And for all intents and purposes, the power cards were just the old Strengthen passive, give or take. Yes, it technically is formulaically different before, recession comes through a window like Beetlejuice, but yes, it's formulaically different, but it's basically the same idea. But it does also mean that you can potentially stack things that you couldn't previously stack before. So, stacking multiple different action skills on top of each other, and then on top of those cards, it was fun. I don't know. I think it's a good kind of gaminess that really helped the experience. But in the case of One Vision here, what they did was that they took those passives out, replaced them with mostly just like more interesting skills to actually use. But they did have moments where stuff was still kept. Like, for example, with the golems. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. One downside of the drink of choice for the evening being these bubbly lemonade dealies. But hey, wife says they had to go. They have to go. Anyway, but yeah, as far as the golem went, they got access to the core abilities here, which are functionally speaking just the old passives shoved into a ability that only this unit gets. That they can go ahead and make themselves more accurate. They can make themselves better against spells, or what have you. Because they are just a robot. They are slotting in different modes for them to go and kill with. Anyway. So, let's see. I think meditate is just so much better in one vision. I haven't needed to use magic leaves on offensive mages. I mean, they both have their plays. That's the thing. One other thing to mention about Reborn is that skill cards were by far, it's like 60% or something, the most likely to actually spawn of any of the different card types, meaning that any skill that is an auto skill can be very quickly made into a 100% guaranteed thing. So this means that if you use your more than likely 2 or 3 immediate cards that you're getting for those skill cards, you can have infinite meditates forever, which means that sustainability is far less of an issue. But it also leads to fun situations where, like, let's say you'd bring in your Terror Knights, and it's like, okay, if we can give them their skill cards, they get their permanent concentration, they get their permanent lament, very good area holder. But if we end up spawning some MP generation cards, they might be a better finisher spammer, they might be better at, let's say, doing some drain spam or what have you, because if you get them like magi ups plus crits plus drain spamming, they're actually a really good kind of holdout tank there. And those kinds of mode switches are why I love the cards. It adds a little bit of fun chaos to all the different maps that let them switch modes on the fly. One Vision's approach to this is giving you more options to build with so that you can address all of this stuff ahead of time and hopefully your builds work. This is more of a kind of Armored Core type of feeling, so to speak. Anyway, I love them both for completely different reasons. Like, I'm not going to pick one or the other. I wish I could play them both at the same time. I wish that I could have them all conveniently on one device that always fits in my pocket. This is about as close as I generally get, just due to the fact that I can, remote play Reborn over on this Vita here, while also playing One Vision natively, stuff like that. Anyway, sorry. We are getting extremely distracted from the original point of this whole thing, but oh well. Let's see. Rogue can equip instruments, but doesn't have weapon proficiency. No. They can bring in instruments. If they have other classes that can bring them, like for example, I think Wizard is now the earliest person that can bring in instruments. They will be able to use them. So, for example, let's say we go take a look at Mr. Vulcan Raven, and he's got access to this thing over here. Everyone that let's say can use the skill over there, blue circle. They can use the instrument. We go over to the skill though. Here, where was it? Instruments. We can see that they can use the skill, they just cannot learn it. So, if they were previously somebody that was a bardly sort, like a wizard or something, they would be able to bring that skill in. So, fun stuff there. But yeah, no, as far as meditate is concerned, also, let me just say that, yeah, like, meditate in general in terms of having a very immediate function and a lot of different ways to be used as both a skill, as an item, as just like a fun way to pass MP around. Hell, things like absorb MP, the way what's the friggin' skill I'm forgetting the name of, stuff like Covenant works. It's fantastic. You have so many options on how to share and move your MP and stuff like that in this particular situation. What I'm trying to say is, like, as far as just a quick, like, pick up and go type of method, I think that they did a solid job in Reborn. Okay, you, I believe, are 1 or 2 bits and pieces away from, yeah, you need 13. I want to say that next equipment upgrade is like 14 or something. What is your armor deal, sir? Yes, it's 14. Okay. So we'll get him a upgraded suit of armor in just a little bit here. Are you sure you want to retreat? No, I don't want to retreat. Let's see. Dark Dragon, Toxic Breath, or Corpse Breath? Depends. I know that's a lame answer, but it depends. Depends on where you're fighting. Sometimes you want one, sometimes you want the other. Alright. Should have used Trajectory, but she can't afford Trajectory, so I couldn't have used Trajectory. Alright, 1 double attack right here. Also, by the way, is the music coming through for you guys? Just out of curiosity? Because it's showing fairly low on my end at this point. Just not sure if I need to turn it up or what. Does it feel like I do? Just gonna preemptively turn it up just a little bit here. See, bubbly like LaCroix, those are awesome. Nope. This one is a simply spiked, apparently. You know, I was saying earlier, like I was going and cleaning off shelves, looking for some stuff to make dinner because you know we kind of just have a shelf of all kinds of random kind of preserved stuff or whatever else, and yeah, no, there was just a bunch of random drinks there. Like, what's the story on these? Just like drink them. Forgot those were there. So they get drunk because they were forgotten about being there and stuff. Alright. Now, at this point, we play Poison the Archer. This is where you take an archer and poison it right there. There we go. And have you must your bomb in that direction. Mr. Donato, do the old healy tabadeely. There we go. Anyway, so you're not quite having control over your Berserker. Berserked was pretty flavorful. Plus, also, you could actually have some control over it, depending on your loadout. Like, if they were running full, like, heavy weapons, full offense, whatever else, all the time, you could basically yeah, you would lose complete control over them. But if you decided to go one-handed hammer and shield, it gave you that little bit of extra control where they parried instead of countered. And honestly, like, the whole parry versus counter thing, it's one of those fun things where, yeah, it technically removes an option, but it also leads to a fun building kind of complication. And, like, fun building is kind of the name of the game, you know? It's just... It's good. It's good when you have just interesting questions. As they say, you know, create problems, not situations. Forget exactly how that saying goes right now, but sort of the general gist of it. Alright. Let's see. Poison on you. Not so good on you. But you are the one with more health, so you get the thing that hopefully does the poison. Alright. Now, one thing that I do hope changes at some point. Ninja magic stuff. I wish it was locked into a certain amount, to be honest. So, like, Ninja Magic's whole thing is they've got 2 summons that they get access to outside of their usual ninja tools and stuff. And so what they've got is they've got Agumo and Kamatachi there. So Kamatachi is basically like a slashing weapon in an area, and then Agumo is a spider that, well, bites things 1 to 2 times and tries to poison them. Which is nifty, but also comes with the annoying caveat that sometimes it only does 1, a lot of the time, and it oftentimes won't poison, so it's just kind of extremely unreliable, but, well, extremely unreliable, plus also doesn't have any type of augment, so, yeah, a little bit of a limitation there. Also, Aircell is doing very poorly these last few fights here. She's actually currently trying to catch up, being a Furia, seeing as the original one is long dead. So yeah, she got killed off a while ago in Palace of the Dead, ended up transferring her skills to somebody completely different, and currently Aircell is just kind of out-of-the-box Aircell. So that's also fun. And, yeah. Alright. Now, let's see. You should probably just go Pistolier this guy. Kapow. There we go. And now you just go ahead and move on over here. Do the nothing currently. I was gonna say maybe having might not be the worst idea to have him go ahead and get his momentum going, but right now we don't need it as of yet. Alright. We're just going to attempt to hit things with a rock and then run away. Doesn't really have a whole lot of other use right now, but that's kind of about that. Alright, is there any more useful breath weapons for dragons? I can change class to Cloud, Earth, Fire, and Frost, not Fire. I mean, depending on elements, obviously they all have the usual elemental advantage kind of stuff. So that's oftentimes worth it on its own, like even just for flavor type reasons. Fire, lightning, and water are kind of the big 3 there. The other ones are kind of okay. I want to say not Earth. It's Hydra that gets the poison, which is fantastic. All right. Also, yeah, perfect time to turn up the music because we get possibly my favorite theme in that entire game. All right. Definitely not Cloud, that's for sure. Cloud was iffy at best, but yeah, you said not Fire, so well, goodbye to Breach. Breach would have been great. See, music is awesome. Yeah, no, this is from Into the Breach. If you've never played Into the Breach and you happen to have Netflix, go and well, go to the Google store and just get yourself Into the Breach, basically. So yeah, game's absolutely fantastic, and also if you have Netflix, it is free on phones, and it's basically the whole thing, and I say basically, it is just straight up the entire thing. At some point, they apparently bought it, so yeah, you technically gotta be subscribed to Netflix, but most people kind of are, so I guess there's that. But yeah, kind of an interesting choice on their part. Like, I'm not gonna complain. I have the PC version, but at the same time, you know, it's pretty cool having access to that version. Just kind of play it on the go and such. All right, is it the same way to get Deneb in One Vision? Kinda, sorta. It's the same technical requirements. And are we talking about the same as, like the same as in the way that it was in PSP, or the same as in the way it was in Reborn? Because it is not the same as in Reborn, it is the same as in PSP. Namely, you have to sell some dragons to go pick up some orbs, and also you have to, in this case, feed her glass pumpkins instead of giving her a relic, right? So, let's see. The way that it goes, and the way that it's actually different, is in the PSP version, you had to hire 3 of every dragon to be able to create enough orbs. In One Vision, you only need to get 1 of each dragon type, and additionally, as far as glass pumpkins are concerned, you probably already have enough to actually go recruit her by the time you're going to go and recruit her. Seeing as glass pumpkins are something that is dropped not only more frequently, but a lot of casters throughout the story end up dropping them, and yeah, usually you won't have that issue. You can also go and sell Cyclopes to the store to go generate more if and when you need to. And that's kind of the whole story on Deneb there. She does have her, I mean, she's always had her unique class, but it's more unique at this point. As you'd kind of expect, kind of a mindfuck expert, so there's that. I was joking the other day that her Forsaken Kiss ability needs to potentially be renamed to Doghouse, but currently there is no even vote out for that, so I don't think that's going to be happening. But yeah, no. We can take a little bit of a look at that in just a bit of a second here. Now, Donato, let's see, you are 2 tiles away from being able to conveniently one-shot this archer. So, go ahead and do that. Feels good, feels good. Yeah, I love the targeting for summons in OV at this point. Like, this whole just like danger close equation is fascinating. It's like you literally cannot summon close to you. But all right, so you didn't even know Into the Breach was available on Netflix until you said it. Yeah, apparently it's on Netflix and more importantly on phones. So yeah, that's what you're looking for. It's out there. But they ended up buying a whole bunch of things. It's kind of weird that they even happened in the first place. But it's cool. I personally find it really neat. Like, normally I would definitely be on that side of, like, you know, we need to be able to actually own the thing and whatever else, but, like, also it saved me, like, 20 bucks, so not gonna complain, plus you can easily get it on basically everything, so yeah, it ends up working out. Plus, also, the music is great. Plus, also, it was kind of interesting to, just due to the fact that it was free, and I couldn't quite figure out the family plan thing on the Play Store for a while. So, I was just glad that I was able to let the kiddos try it as well, and they liked it. And if you could maybe stop charming our dude there, that'd be great. Huh, anyways, he's dead. Last order of business, he has to go give Gamp a smooch one last time. Alright, let's see. Let's go more rude bow action. If you're wondering why he's like this ninja is so bad with his crossbow damage and everything, it is because he is, well, very bad with his crossbow still. He's fairly new at it. Basically his first day on the job, give the guy a break. He's only got rank 2, everyone's running around like max ranks and such. So that's fun. Also, let's see, I guess 2 fire dragons until I can get a water dragon. Nothing wrong with that. Double up the weekend fun. Alright, get this dude and we are done here. But yeah, if y'all have any questions about any, like, weird, unique classes or whatever else, feel free to chime in. Alright, Ranger's up to 12 at this point. Love how in Reborn, like, despite the complaints, like, oh my god, the like, level cap system, how could they? And then it's like, in Reborn, you need to get a class up, you throw them in a training for 5 minutes, they're god. Like, I have learned the kung fu. By going and slapping this practically unarmed ninja over and over. I have suddenly learned the ways of an expert. I mean, personally, I wish that... The one thing that I wish would come back was the absolute perfection that was the OB64 training system. Like, dude, it was so good. Not here otherwise. It was so good. Just absolutely perfect. And for those that never played Ogre Battle 64, the way that it goes is that you actually kind of gambled in that system. So you took, you basically took your trainees, right? You put them into a fight. That fight will go on forever. Unlike the standard Ogre Battle fights, which are just like automated little skirmishes, those ones will go on forever until one side goes down. And so they had this sort of like almost arena format where you had to gamble. You threw them in. They're like, okay, we get a chance to go do a little bit of training here. You have to pay based on how good the character is. So they go into training. If they end up getting knocked out, they don't get anything for that training, and you paid the money for nothing. But, like, let's say they go in, and they end up winning the fight. This, again, goes on until the thing's done, so they get their experience. But your money in that game is limited. So you only get so much to actually play around with. You're in this position where, again, you're practically gambling money away there. And also, if you, let's say, make a really hyper-competent team, and you're thinking, oh man, I'm just going to cheese the hell out of this, I'm just going to keep getting more and more experience, not only does it keep going up over time, but you also have this funny little wrinkle in there that, technically speaking, there's harder fights every few training sessions or so. Which means that you absolutely can have this funny moment where you put everybody into training. Everybody was doing well, all these new guys were getting experience, and they're like, oh, let's just put in the rookie squad. And it's like, oh, guess what? Like, all dragons and a dragoon, motherfucker. It's time to go. Oh, man. But yeah, they just get, like, suddenly boss fights. And then you gotta redo that cycle all over again in case you weren't ready for it. Like, I love that training system. It's so freaking cool. But if you haven't tried it, OB64, pretty fantastic. I meant to, I keep forgetting to do an OB64 stream. We've got a couple days to do that still. Should probably get on that. Alright. Let's see. Let's see. Do you have... You do not have the points to do any particularly good thing here. I was going to say let him, get this griffin back up on his feet, but I think we'll just move him over here. He doesn't have the points to actually do subdue. I was going to wake him up and have him subdue, and that is not the do that we will do, so... what you gonna do, dude? So you've been watching your videos after starting Reborn. Keep up the good work. Well, I am glad to help and amuse. Hopefully you get something out of them. And yeah, I'll try to help wherever I can. Today we're covering one of the best mods ever. It's not for Reborn in this case, but it is basically the same game from a different timeline, more or less. Would take a little bit more explanation than that, but that's more or less what we're looking at here. Alright, one bow on you. Honestly, I don't know what that bow did to be considered rude, but must have been at least somewhat unpleasant. So you're treating the new guy right because you're working on an autocrat that treats temps badly. Fair enough, fair enough. Alright, anyway, let's go ahead and wake this dude up. Get a little bit of, trying to remember which one it is, because you never use the wake up items, but I don't have a punch right now. Where is wake up item? It's gonna be funny if, like, during this last patch, wake up items were removed. Wait, were they? No, ammonia salt. Here it is. There we go. Get your sleeping salts. Wait, holy crap. What are the odds of that? So I recently lost a bird unit with that exact same name. Oh, they don't want to join again. Okay, I mean, fair. I did get you killed, so... I mean, I honestly can't hold it against you. Anyways, have a nice afterlife. Again. And, let's go ahead and steal stance now. And yeah, Lambert should probably be fine. I mean, speaking of the old comment from earlier as far as, like, role-playing the RPG thing, Lambert is the last of an entire team of Hawkmen that I gave really stupid builds to, just to see which one survived, and evolution claimed him as the superior bird. So is spell strike / concentration important for a healer, and no attack magic? No, it is not. That is not useful for them at all. Concentration is basically just going to improve your odds of hitting debuffs and things. In case you happen to have bottomed out odds, it will give you a minimum of 30%, which is really its main value, especially in the later game. So it gives you a gigantic bonus. In other situations, it gives you a different kind of bonus, but either way, it's useful. Alright, we'll let Vice wake that guy up, I think. Go ahead and start putting some work in on this guy. Yeah, he just took his turn. I was going to say, it felt like he was about to go take his turn at some point. You just keep working on your sword skill there, Mr. Vice. It's fine. The damage will come later. Until then, though, you can just keep spamming more sleep bombs, and hopefully that puts him back to sleep. And nothing. Fantastic. Alright, you, sir, can go ahead and clean up this mess, then. There you go, and that hopefully should give him enough points to pull off Vampiric next time. Alright, there you go this way. But yeah, no, so in Reborn, when it comes to kind of what healers need, just get them Healcraft powder. It's just fairy scale powder over at the store. Get them that stuff, gives them Healcraft, and it basically maxes out more or less everything that they would ever possibly need. Which, like, there's a lot of things that can put their finger on the scale. You got Mind, but it's very, very slow at doing that. You have, you've got kind of a Divine Element, which again, just use Healcraft powder and you can avoid that little requirement there. You've got your Prevailing Element, which is just basically the kind of the level's tendency towards a particular element there. Just kind of scales it very slightly, which again, same thing. And the other person apparently being weak to Divine stuff, which, anyways, again, Healcraft powder basically just does all of this. However, it does have some other interesting uses in other cases. Like, let's say you have Swordmasters using debuffs. Spellcraft will help in that particular situation. Same thing for Angels that may not be able to hit their marks. So it would help in that situation as well. So, yeah. That's kind of about that. Alright, Unicorn Horns, because that thing was apparently totally a unicorn. I can always drop those. It's never really made sense. Doesn't really make any more sense now, but I suppose it doesn't technically make less sense, so... Oh well. Anyways, Mr. Vice, you go over here. I think we might be wrapping it up here. I didn't realize how long this has actually been going. Holy crap. Why did nobody tell me it was almost 1 AM? Alright, well, anyways. Well, shoot. I guess we'll be just about calling it good there, then. So, surprisingly, despite being a stream that we were supposed to be talking about the update, I feel like we've explained more about the differences between One Vision and Reborn than actually talking about the latest accuracy update. So, whoops. I did have some interesting knock-on effects as far as like countering lightweights. I think we did cover that earlier on. Like it's cool to see more counterplay versus lightweight units. So that feels good. Evaders feel like they have to play their whole game plan a little bit better. Being able to target something's mind instead of its body is just more interesting. But anyways, yeah, that's way later than I thought it was. So you'll have yourselves a fine evening. Hope it was at least somewhat fun there. And yeah, we'll kind of see whatever happens in the next one. So y'all take care. See you then, and have yourselves a good one.